Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel's Friday night stream. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull. Gonna start out, as always, with a bit of Geoguessr. But first I'm gonna clear away some of these fucking windows, because I've got way too many windows open, and it makes it very difficult to actually follow what I'm doing. Okay, that one I need there. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, let's guess some geos. Okay, this is either Britain or Ireland. I just don't see... Give way, yeah, Britain. Oh, 1,455. Stone chips repaired. Okay, so we're someplace in Britain. Emergency ambulance. Sometimes it'll say which NHS trust it is. EMAS. No, that's just emergency ambulance services, I believe. Sad. Yeah. I can't tell. Hold on, there was a sign there. Charnwood College, Ashmount School. No idea where that is. Righto. A service to British industry. Well, we're probably not in Wales because they're... Ambulance. Leicestershire County Council. Okay, Leicestershire. Righto. Enderby, Leicester Forest. Oadby. Yep. Turf Island. Where they have managed to keep the same Prime Minister for like 2 whole days now. Poison Sunak is still in. Melton Mowbray, Asprey des Lazouche. Market Bosworth. Yes. Okay. I mean, I feel like this is going to be closer to Leicester rather than further, but I don't know Leicestershire at all. Just Wigston, Scraptoft. BB, oh, I've heard of BB. Gets mentioned a fair bit in the Adrian Mole books. BB on the Wold. Hungerton... Wait, fuck off. Okay, Leicestershire, that's not cool. You got Hungerton next to Hungerton, for fuck's sake. Hungerton. Or Hungarton. It's a garden of Huns. Crapston, Woodhouse, Eves, Sileby, Thrussington, Frisbee on the Reek. They do have some nice names up in Leicester, but Hungerton right next to Hungerton? Fuck off, that's just wrong. Not cool. How many things get misrouted because of that? Okay, there's a university nearby. That also makes me think probably closer to Leicester than up farther. Scuffed bus stop sign. Well, that's just Turf Island all over, really. Okay, we've got the sign. Town Centre, North Beehive, Southfield, Granby Street, Carolyn Court, Regent Place. Okay, this isn't Leicester. It would be City Centre if it was Leicester. But I think it's not far from Leicester. How you doing, Mask? Okay, A6, A453. There we go. A46. Barkby Thorpe, Beebe Road. A6, A453. A47, M1, A563, A6, Mount Sorrel, roughly, Loughborough, Thurmaston. They keep your drinks warm there. Loughborough Road, Skedaddle. A6004. Ashby Road roundabout. Sorry. Who's Romy? Oh, I was like, that sounds like Quark's brother's name. Okay. We are someplace up on the Ashby Road. .1 kilometers, not bad. Okay. This feels very Latin American. Urquiza 33, Casa de la Cultura. 16 de marzo. Festival Veneciano. A Venetian festival. Okay. That pavement, that footpath looks a bit like Chile, but you see it in a lot of places actually. Fairly certain. This afternoon I got dropped in northern Thailand near the border with Myanmar. Brigada heroica. ¿De quién? ¿Qué brigada, weón? I know. I mean, that's not even the good part of bumfuck. We're in Argentina. Yacimiento Petrolero Fiscale, the state petrol company, which, if I remember correctly, Macri tried to privatize. Aviador Origone. Oh, wow. It's funny, the times I've been dropped in Chile, it almost always picks streets I've actually spent time on. I mean, one time it was a place in a really rich and paranoid suburb of Santiago where I got lost for an entire afternoon. Origone. Ofertón látex interior. I don't... No, wait a second. I have had Jordan. Rotisserie. And unfortunately, that does not actually tell us where we are. Alberto Frente Patriótico. Menna y menna. Senador nacional y provincial. Smata. How long did it take you to figure out that it was in, that it was Jordan? La fraternidad. Okay, heavy vehicles prohibited. Estamos en alguna parte de Argentina. Mercedes, estamos en Mercedes. AMFA, Agrupación Mercedina de Fútbol Amateur. A ver. Vamos, weón. Merced, ¿dónde queda exactamente, weón? That's handy because I had no idea actually what their state petrol company was exactly. Esquina La Paz, La Falda, Belgrano. Vicuña Maquena, that's just confusing. Villa Mercedes, ahí estamos. Los Álamos, Pueyrredón, Guayaquil, Perón, Aviador Origone. It's really confusing to have a place called Vicuña Maquena in Argentina. Because that is like everything is named after Vicuña Maquena in Chile. I mean, it's like the way that they also have in Avenida Maipú. They have a whole section of Buenos Aires called Maipú, which is just not fair because Santiago already has a Maipú. 5,000 points, not bad. Kokshite 重要文化財. Okay, we are in Japan. And this is a cultural heritage site. Albeit one I've never heard of. Indeed I do.昭和11. Okay, this looks fairly rural. Everything's a bit spread out. This could be Hokkaido. And not just because Hokkaido is so big that it gets disproportionately featured in Geoguessr. Prager You Kids has a new how-to video that answers the question that kids all over the country have been asking: how to be a rational patriot. I mean, if you've been around kids who are played by Steve Buscemi, you're sure to have heard this question come up. Yes. Band t-shirt. Judaku. 八王神社手前。オンライン不動産のことならOkay, that looks like the way into town. Oh, hang on, there was a sign that even probably told me what town it was. Yatoko Jinja. Yatoko Jinja. Okay. Trouble with a lot of these cultural... Okay, Fukui-san. Kendo Tokushima-ken. Okay, we're good. Tokushima-ken. Kendo 24号線。ルキレ。ティキャルキポ。徳島県。I was looking at the wrong ones. You have to zoom in more for the prefectural routes. 12号線、14号線。どこなんだ。文化の森。福井さん。阿弥陀美。Anang. There we go. Place names. Even native speakers of Japanese have trouble with the place names. Because the kanji have special readings when you're dealing with place names. Kaegoro Jinhoken. Volume Shokudo. Ne Yatoko. Yahoko. Yahoko Jinja da. Yatta. Atazo. $99 meters. 5,000. That's two 5,000. 4 out of 5. Okay, we got some palm trees. We've got some old Ford Utes. And we've got brutalism. This does not tell me a huge amount about the place. All the... Okay, they speak English in what? We now know they speak English in what? Also, all these vehicles are the same color. This seems to be somebody's motor pool, I would guess. No parking. $20-minute loading zone. I'm getting a US vibe from this. Do not enter. We're at a university. A something edu. Okay, let's get off the footpath. Yeah, that's my thinking. I'm thinking someplace in California. Or maybe Arizona. That would explain the A. Is there another way to move around here? Yeah, southwestern US. I'm not going the exact same way I just went, am I? The District on Apache, ASU. Private resort pool with a lazy river. Okay. I'm guessing that's in Phoenix? Marisco Playa Hermosa. True Med Dispensary. Cocina Madrigal. Okay. Ah, Fry's Marketplace. I wonder if it's near Bender's Marketplace. What about Zoidberg's? Peoria Crossings. Has anything interesting enough happened in Peoria that somebody would want to name someplace after it? Midwestern University? No, you're fucking not. You're in fucking Phoenix. What Midwestern what? Midwest of Arizona? Ah. Yeah, when it's got that nondescript a name, it almost always is. It's a BSU. Yes, another BSU. How is that not actually? How is that not caught on as the name for this category of universities? I wonder. Angry Crab Shack. Oh, Sun City. What? Lots of dispensaries. Makes me want to go to Phoenix. Ah. Oh well. That's miles away. ASU. 311 meters, 49.99. This is probably going to be one of my best scores of all time. Okay. Holy shit. I'm 5 points short. I'll be 5 points short of a perfect score if I can do a perfect score on this one. Faites signe au conducteur. We are in someplace French speaking. Okay, that font tells me we're in France. Yeah. They have two distinctive fonts on their road signs. One is a small caps font and the other is an italics font. Esprit, les lapins vont partir très vite. Intermarché. Stade Lagrange, salle Pablo Neruda, gymnase Rousseau, avenue Salvador Allende, weón. Morson-sur-Orge. There must be a fair number of Chileans around here that they've got a street named after Allende and a building named after Neruda, weón. Morson-sur-Orge. Never heard of the Orge or Morson. Oh, I'm beginning to think that maybe the place we affectionately know as this hell site won't be such a nice place to be anymore. Deauville, Le Havre, Lisieux. This was I would say, probably an opportune time to have recently set up a Discord, just in case the whole thing becomes totally unusable. Like, more so than it already is. Where the hell is the Auge? I have never heard of the Auge. Yeah. Everbeck, tennis de table, Louis Aragon, Neruda, Aragon, Allende. Come on, you gotta give me something a little bit more than this. Like, what region are we in? Yeah. Yeah, they're not going to be out of pocket on this. Yeah, but where the hell? I've never heard of a river called the Auge, and that is like the only real clue I have about this place, is that it's there. It's on the Auge. Mon Dieu. Picasso. Oh, we've got some more people showing up. Hello, new people. Welcome. Don't be strangers in chat. Unless you're like the fucker who showed up on my other stream this afternoon and immediately offered me $50 to say a racial slur on stream, and he was out of here faster than Suella fucking Braverman. And before anyone remarks that she's back in, I take into account... Oh, well, hello. Hello, Phoenix. Yeah, my language stream is getting visible enough that assholes are starting to find it. But fortunately, the genuinely interested in what I'm doing to asshole ratio remains high. Oh, Ile-de-France. Okay, that's easy enough. Okay. Orly... Noisy-le-Grand, Aulnay, Seine, Morson. L'année sur Marne, Villepinte, Gonesse. Where exactly does Ile-de-France end, anyway? How are you doing, Phoenix? That Ile-de-France was where Paris was. But it seems it isn't. It's fairly extensive, and yet every time I click something, I zoom in on something, it's not it. Yes, I know the feeling very well. I've been having a fairly rough couple of months myself. It's just, I start to get the feeling that capitalism kind of fucking sucks. But Kylie... Yes. Ah, shit. I thought Ile-de-France was a département. It gets its own number plate. Fuck it. "65 kilometers off." Weird, okay, so I guess regions get their own number plates. 4780 is still not bad. 24,783. That is definitely one of my top scores on here. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, Twitter is full of lovely people. I mean, and now Elon Musk has taken over that paradise and he's gonna fuck it all up. Okay. And speaking of things that suck and people who are similar... Wait, denying what genocide exactly? We're starting out with PragerU Kids' excellent, I'm sure, video on how to be a rational patriot. I can't wait to find out because, you know, the kids, they all want to know about this. Wait, like, but what genocide is, like, are you supposed to have denied by following somebody? That is just bizarre. That is a bizarreness. Yes, it is cringe content. That's why we love it so. Okay. Let's see if we can adjust our crop. Oh, this banner's on it. And that's wonderful because... Oh. Oh, I always have a frog on my pocket. Or a toad on the back step. Again, here we go with that big band music the kids all love.
What does it mean to be a true patriot?
Does it mean ignoring your country's flaws?
Now listen here, son. America's perfect. I don't care what they say. It's perfect.
Well, hey, isn't that's actually okay, I have to say, they accidentally got this one right. The people who are going to tell you that it's perfect are almost always going to be the people who it's perfect for.
Nothing to change.
Or intentionally annoying people who are less patriotic?
Where's your American flag? Don't you even love America?
Yeah, I mean, this sounds like their fucking target audience. Are they, like, taking the piss out of... Is PragerU kids taking the piss out of the PragerU adults who watch PragerU's content? He's supposed to look like... I don't know. See, my theory on these often somewhat irrelevant and clearly just low effort little sketches that they have in these PragerU Kids videos is that they didn't have scripts, they didn't have topics, they just gave these people some costumes and some Everclear and said, just do whatever. And they just decided to clip the stuff that kind of worked.
Fortunately, being a patriot doesn't mean any of this. Today, we give you 4 tips on how to be a rational patriot.
Yeah, which everybody wants to know, of course. Now, of course, we've got that fucking banner on the bottom about the severe censorship they're experiencing. Censorship is their word for algorithmic boosting. See, right now, I'm getting very close to finally getting a low level of censorship on my language-related Twitch stream. We're almost to affiliate status, and then they censor me enough that maybe more people will see me. Using it in the PragerU sense of the word, but for our purposes, we just watch how many times they put up subtitles on the screen, and they don't check to make sure that they're not completely illegible because of that fucking banner. Yeah, here we go. How to be a something or other. Look, they blocked out the names of the fucking cast, too. Look at that. Okay, well, have a good night. Enjoy your ass sleep.
Number 1, appreciate your country. The first step to...
Like, if you need to tell somebody to appreciate their country, I'm guessing that maybe their country could... isn't as appreciable as all that.
to being a rational patriot is appreciating your country. In our case, America. America isn't perfect, but
it also isn't a country. That's 2 fucking continents.
It really is an amazing country. America is one of the freest countries on the face of the planet. Nearly 1 million people request to immigrate to the U.S. every year.
Yes, following the wealth of their country, which has been extracted from their country and taken to the U.S. Yeah, it's interesting when you look at it. If you look at it, like, all the fucking imperialist powers that have regular streams of immigration, it's always coming from the places that those countries have extracted tons of wealth from. I know. I mean, the guys dress up like every lesbian fashion archetype, except for mine.
Because they know how amazing America is.
No, because they basically have no other fucking... They're running out of options where they're from, and they're trying someplace else.
Opportunities in this country are limitless.
What the fuck does that even mean? What the hell is limitless? What makes an opportunity limitless?
The quality of life is better than it's ever been throughout human history.
Well, except if you count, the U.S. at various previous times. It's actually been going down, particularly with this pandemic. I mean, we've got life expectancies taking a fucking nosedive. There's no health care.
Most importantly, America offers personal liberty to its citizens.
Yeah, definition needed.
in a way that no other country does, like freedom of religion and
That's actually kind of common. I mean, what they're doing here, what gets me is, like, they think that they're, like, subverting the communist educational system or whatever the fuck. But this is the same bullshit that they told me in school, that the US is the only one that has freedom of religion, or, you know...
freedom of speech and freedom to become whatever you want, whether you're a painter, an engineer, or an astronaut.
As long as you're not trans, for example.
Personal liberty has and continues to create endless opportunities. If you have a dream and you work hard enough, you can make it happen.
Yeah, citation kind of fucking needed.
In most countries, this isn't the case. America isn't just like a sports team that you pick out of the blue and cheer for them.
No, it's like the sports team that actually bought out all the other sports teams, so now somehow every other fucking sports team is owned by them, so you end up rooting for them anyway. God, could they get this guy a shirt that fits?
What's your favorite sports team?
I like the miners. The miners, American miners. Yeah, 'cause America is the best.
It's not even a team, bro.
I bet there's a fucking West Virginia team, like a West Virginia high school team with a name like the Miners.
America is more than just a place on a map. It's an ideal and a set of values.
Like white nationalism, colonialism, settler colonialism, imperialism, capitalism, and, yes, cis heteropatriarchy.
Stemming from Judeo-Christian principles.
Oh, fuck off with this Judeo-Christian bullshit. The whole idea here is the white Christians came up with this shit. And the whole idea was to exclude Muslims and other people who were not, not Christian or Jewish, by claiming that somehow Jews and white European Christians have always gotten on, when actually, like, white Christians have been our main predators going back basically as long as there's been Christianity in Europe.
Of individual freedom and limited government power.
I'd date a woman who wore that. I would totally sit in a pub, vaguely look over in her direction, hope that she decided to talk to me, and then go home having probably not been noticed at all because I go out of my way accidentally to be unobtrusive. Yes, the government doesn't have enough power to give you health care, doesn't have enough power to, like, protect union rights or give you clean water or anything like that, but they got enough power to, fucking torture your kids for being trans or prosecute you for having a miscarriage or an abortion. And, and limited government power in a country where there's huge numbers of cops and the world's, like, record-breaking fucking prison population, too. It seems like the government's found a way to have a fair bit of power there.
It's a nation unlike any other. America isn't just a democracy like many other countries in the West.
In fact, it's not a democracy at all. It's nowhere near that. It is a de facto one-party state with 9 unelected, infallible god kings at its core, and all of it basically owned by big business. See, clubs are totally not my scene. They're too loud. I like a place where I like music, but I like music in a place where I can have a conversation and not shout. You know, and clubs never play my kind of music. I've never been to a club that played the sort of music that I like to actually listen to. I'm more of a pub sort of person. I mean, I like both of kinds of the basic pub food groups. The really beautifully preserved, like, 200-year-old interior with the perfectly, shined hardwood and fucking crystal things hanging off, and the scuffed ones that look like probably they've seen like several hundred years of different pub fights and things like that. But my key is there's got to be a place to sit. The music's got to be good and not too loud, and there's got to be a decent draft list. Or cocktails. I can do cocktail plays too. I like cocktails or good beer. Wine on its own, I don't really do. I like wine with food.
It's a constitutional republic, a genius system that allows citizens from all over the country to be fairly represented.
Yeah, citation needed.
And free of government.
Oh, I get it. It's not fairly represented. It's not fairly as in fair. It's like fairly represented, like kinda represented. Like you could sort of squint a little, and you could say, okay, yeah, I guess that counts as representation.
Tyranny. If you don't realize or appreciate how good we have it, it's easy to become arrogant or ungrateful.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that the U.S., and particularly the sector of the U.S. political opinion represented by PragerU does not like, it is arrogance.
America is the worst.
And if it's a public post and is visible to people in the rest of the world, that will immediately get like 10 million likes.
Either attitude makes you a lousy citizen and a worse patriot.
America is the best.
See, I don't give a shit about being a good citizen and even less about being a patriot, so yeah, fuck both of them.
Why?
Because America, that's why. Land of the free, home of the rich. That's me.
I mean, this is like, they're really telling on themselves here, because that's like, the people who make this stuff, the people who finance this stuff, that's exactly how they think. It's like, it's oil billionaires.
Be grateful for those who have sacrificed and fought for the freedoms we have today.
Yes, mostly black people, communists, queer people, anarchists, quite a few, some anarchists who are also communists, and who are still persecuted, and most of the people who have fought for the freedoms that we have, which whatever freedoms we still have, are not honored by are not honored in the history books and are still persecuted by the state today. Well, I mean, you have to be arrogant and ungrateful because it's I don't fucking know. This is such an asinine video. Like, how the fuck, who wants to find out how to be a rational patriot? I don't even think, I mean, I don't even think that, like, young people who are already sort of convinced of this shit would actually click on this, because why?
Many have died in wars for those freedoms.
Most, however, have died in wars that were fighting to deny those freedoms to people in other countries.
Others have spent months, even years, away from home to protect America.
Or just in prison for having fought for those freedoms back home.
Go shake their hand and tell them thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, sir, this is a Wendy's.
And lastly, appreciate and take pride in your country's culture, with its unique
What culture?
traditions and characteristics. It's
Yeah, name one. Name one piece of this country's culture that isn't just some shit that was taken from someplace else and fucked up.
absolutely fine to appreciate the beauty and wisdom that comes from other cultures. But it's not fine to tell people that America is evil.
But it is. I mean, why? Is it a secret that they're supposed to find out on their own? Most people in the world already have found it out.
America is the worst.
Because it's not. So
Well, what are you saying? So we're trying to be rational patriots, so like, I mean, clearly it's in the Premier League of the worst, even if it isn't in the final, surely. I mean, yeah, the British Empire's up there, but at some point they're gonna have to stop resting on their laurels if they don't want to be overtaken.
wave your American flag with pride.
That's the wrong... You're gonna talk about waving your American flag with pride and then it's the wrong color?
Number 2, learn your country's history.
No, not very specific parts of your country's history. Not the bits that we tell you didn't happen. The specific, the good stuff, the stuff that we mostly made up.
Maybe history doesn't sound that exciting or important, but if a nation doesn't know its history, it's prone to repeat mistakes of the past. That's why philosopher George Santayana said,
Those who
And now they're literally just doing a clutch
cannot
cargo.
remember the past are condemned to repeat it.
Yes, and that's why people like PragerU dedicate so much money to making sure that people never find out about the past in the first place in this country.
the sad truth is, there are a lot of tragic things throughout history that we don't want to repeat.
Well, yeah, let's talk about those. Which ones, for example?
But also a lot of good things that we do want to repeat or keep doing. Basically, history
Like what?
is a big database of human experiments that we can learn from and build upon. It's extremely valuable if we use it accurately.
Here accurately means in the tactical sense, which is to say that you don't necessarily teach people, for example, why you don't have 10-year-olds working in coal mines anymore.
And that's why it's important to be as honest as possible when
As honest as as possible is doing a whole
looking
lot
at
of work
history.
here.
You want to make sure you come away with accurate conclusions. A nation's history can be a controversial thing.
Okay, let's see where they're going with
Because
this.
nations are full of people, and people are complex. They
And also there's a ruling class, and the ruling class is a very specific way. They would very much like you to remember the history, because it leaves out all the reasons why we shouldn't have them.
do good things,
Thank you, young man.
and unfortunately, they also do bad things.
Hello, young man.
Okay, why are we in Paris? 4e arrondissement, rue du Marché des Blonds Manteaux.
Since every nation is filled with people, every nation will be a combination of good and bad.
Yeah, although sometimes it's actually the state that's doing the horrible shit. It's not just individual people. Slavery wasn't individual people doing horrible shit. It was an entire fucking system. Yeah, there were individual people doing horrible shit within it. But it wasn't just a couple of fucking bad apples. They're like bad appling the entirety of U.S. history right here.
America is no different. It has an amazing and unique history of freedom and progress. But the process has not been perfect.
Yes, because at every point, first of all, what the fuck is progress? At every point that people in this country have fought for their freedom, it's been the state that has opposed it, and the ruling class that owns the
Being
state.
a rational patriot means being honest about your country's history. Don't just focus only on the good or only on the bad.
Then why is it you always focus... I mean, PragerU always focuses on the good and lies about the bad. They lie about the good, too, of course.
Take it all in as a whole with as much context as possible.
Well, give us an example. Show us an example of somebody taking it all in as a whole, then.
Put yourself in the shoes of Americans and the time that they lived. Think honestly about
Which ones, though? I mean, this the time, it's the product of their time bullshit. Ignores the fact that there were people in that time that also thought what they were doing sucked shit. Usually, like the people who were being victimized by them. Yeah, exactly. Or Shawnees or Hawaiians, black people, kind of everybody who wasn't a rich white guy or sufficiently adjacent to being a rich white guy to kind of get away with a lot of shit.
what you would or wouldn't do considering societal norms back then.
Ew. People used to eat without washing their hands? I would never.
Yeah, then why the fuck are you not wearing a mask?
Soldiers used to line up in lines and shoot each other. Wow, I could do that so much better.
What, you would be better at lining up in lines and shooting each other? That's a weird flex. Yeah, exactly.
What limitations did decision makers face?
Which is to say, none of the ones who will show up on this fucking channel. On fucking PragerU.
Either informational, political, or economic. Try not to make generalizations. It's likely that not everyone agreed with what their government did at certain points.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the point, isn't it? That's kind of the point, because when you say, oh, you can't judge Thomas Jefferson for being a fucking slave-exploiting rapist, people like PragerU will go, well, he was a product of his times, you can't judge him like that, and it's like, well, the people in his time judged him like that. Like, the same with Columbus. I mean, Columbus was so fucked up that Fray Bartolomé de la Casa, who was not a humanitarian by any stretch of the imagination, the guy's main objection was that indigenous people, the Taíno, he felt were not really cut out for the sort of heavy enslavement that Columbus was doing, and he wanted to use Africans instead. And even a guy who was that fucked up said that Columbus was over the top. Reina Isabel of Spain, who was presiding over the entire genocidal imperialist project of the Spanish Empire before it completely disintegrated. She even decided that by her horrible standards, Colón was way fucked up. So, but you're not supposed to mention that because then you might have to acknowledge that these are just horrible fucking people.
Just like you probably don't agree with everything the government does now. So avoid drawing conclusions about the population as a whole. And
well, the thing is, you can actually often draw up conclusions if you're actually looking at history seriously. You can look at you can often find what the population as a whole had to say about things, and you can often find whether the things that were going on were popular or weren't. I mean, there are sources. You don't have to be agnostic about that. I mean, it gets harder the farther back you go. But certainly you can find a whole lot of information about public opinion, say, during slavery or during the colonial period. I mean, it's not, they didn't have polling data, but they had lots of newspapers, and people were doing all sorts of writing and stuff, and a lot of it's preserved. And you have internal, government documents discussing the sort of, things that people are saying about them.
And when you're studying history, recognize bias. Everyone who writes history books or teaches history will have a slant that affects the way that they tell history.
Now, because of this event in history right here, America is the worst.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's actually just the entire book.
America is the worst!
And people love you.
Yeah, the thing is that somebody says that doesn't... even if you decide that you don't like the conclusion, they're probably right on the facts.
Using history as a tool for their own political agenda.
Oh, that's something like the Koch brothers and the petro billionaires behind PragerU would never do.
So, learn to recognize bias when you are listening.
That's a bad bias right there.
To be safe, it helps to go to primary sources, like letters or documents, to get accurate history, rather than...
Yeah, except that it isn't that simple. Because primary sources are important, but you have to know enough about what's going on. You have to know who those sources are. You have to know what context they were writing in. This stuff is a lot more complicated than that. And it's stuff that, I mean, actually... it's stuff that you have to do when, analyzing contemporary media and propaganda as well. It's a matter of, you have a primary source. Well, who was this person? Who was the person who wrote it? Who were they writing it for? Why were they writing it? What was their objective? Is this internal? Is it meant for the general public? I mean, it's actually quite complicated to analyze a primary source.
And going to secondary sources that aren't always reliable. Most importantly,
primary sources aren't always reliable. There are primary sources that are complete bullshit. There are people, let's take an example, a contemporary example. Let's say we decide to take your average, you look at YouTube comments. A future historian looks at YouTube comments from PragerU viewers. Those are primary sources. Contemporary primary sources of this time. Does that mean they're reliable? Does that mean that the information in them is necessarily going to be accurate, or more accurate than a secondary source analyzing those things? Of course not. Because the people who comment on PragerU videos are overwhelmingly completely full of shit.
When evaluating history and people from the past, be humble. Don't assume things that you can't prove. We don't really know every factor that influenced people's decisions in the past.
Well, they're so weaselly about this. They will not commit to what they're actually talking about.
Now that I read this one article online, I know exactly why they did what they did 200 years ago.
Yeah, but sometimes the thing is, it's pretty easy to tell because the people who did it, they actually give a very detailed internal account of what their reasoning was. Sometimes they're quite open about why they did what they did.
Our job is to do the best we can with the information we have. At the end of the day, new information might change our minds about events of the past.
Number 3, serve your country. A lot of people look at their country
Serve my country to whom?
like,
What has America ever done for me?
with that kind of attitude, you will always be ungrateful and unhappy.
The thing is that, first of all, this bullshit about, like, being ungrateful in general terms being a bad thing. The thing is, gratitude is earned. People feel gratitude because something good was done for them. If you lack gratitude because nothing particularly good has been done for you, or it's things that really are just absolutely the bare minimum and should be and you should be able to just expect them to happen without people wanting fucking credit for them, then you're not going to be grateful. And that doesn't make you a bad person, and it isn't necessary to happiness to, like, pretend. Actually, Thought Slime has a whole thing on toxic gratitude culture. And that's exactly what we're talking about. This is toxic gratitude culture in the flesh.
To be a rational patriot, you need to look for opportunities to serve your country. Ultimately, you are a citizen of this country and have a stake in its success. And on top of that...
What the hell is the country? What is a country's success, though? Like, how do we measure a country's success? Primary sources regarding Native Americans were often not reliable because they've made up grotesque lies about tribes to justify the genocide. Yeah, I mean, that's a good example. I mean, there's plenty of contemporary primary sources that you can't just rely on as fact. Like, take Der Stürmer. That's a primary source. It's also just fucking Nazi propaganda. It's just fucking grotesque lies. Primary sources you have to be cautious with, and that's why secondary sources are so important, because that's where historians will say, yeah, that, you know, when they've checked out various primary sources from the same time period, from the same area or whatever, so that they can decide how much weight should be given to them, and they explain their reasoning if it's a good article.
You have the privilege of living in a country with a government of, by, and for the people.
Wait, I thought we were talking about the U.S. here. What country are we talking about?
Which means you get to be involved, and that's a privilege that many people around the world don't.
What's this thing with tucking in only the front of your shirt that's going on now? Everybody seems to be doing it. I don't understand it. I mean, it seems indecisive. Like, leave it out, leave it in, but, I mean, this just looks like you kind of got sick of getting dressed and said, fuck it.
So don't sit on the couch like a victim thinking,
America's the worst.
But sometimes, first of all, being a victim isn't it isn't a bad thing about a person. That just means something bad was done to them.
It's holding me back. I can't do anything.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, the lack of... Like, literally, right now, the U.S. is literally the worst at dealing with COVID, and the fact that they've just refused to do anything about COVID is a big part of why I can't get on with my life, because it's simply not safe to. So I'm not doing it. And so there's a lot of stuff that I would otherwise be doing, and I'm not doing it. So yeah, the U.S. is totally holding me back right now. That's just a fact, and a lot of other people, too, in all sorts of different ways. That is an objective fact. It's an objective question. It's either true or it's not true.
the truth is, there's a lot you can do.
Also, although I have to say, if you're sitting on a fucking couch like that in a house like that, it doesn't look like you're being held back too hard.
Involved doesn't mean you have to quit your job and join the military, although that might not be a bad idea.
It definitely is a bad idea. It is 100% a bad idea. There is no upside to it.
America is made of states, cities, organizations, communities, neighborhoods,
Dark money?
families, and individuals. Play your part in your family, your community, your school, or your workplace. Do you pick up
You mean join a union, right, PragerU? Join a union, form a
the
union?
trash you walk by to keep your community clean? Are you using your free time to get an honest...
I can't help noting that the person they chose to do the scene of picking up some random other person's trash is the one black guy in the entire cast.
job that contributes to your community?
I'm feeding America!
Are you volunteering
No, you're not.
to help people who are in need?
Cheerio.
Are you studying
What the hell is that?
hard to get a career that can serve your country, like being a teacher or police officer?
Yeah. How the hell are you going to be afford to live on a fucking... I mean, teachers are just totally deserting the profession, in large part because of the sort of policies that PragerU likes, and that Democrats also quite like. Cops, on the other hand, actually, cops are kind of having trouble recruiting, which is a wonderful thing. Apparently, people don't want to be cops. I mean, there has been a bit of a cultural shift around this, it seems. Because they're apparently, they complain of recruiting problems all over the place.
Stop breaking the laws of the land! Please, and thank you.
Are you following your country's laws and respecting your authorities?
No, because, the authorities aren't worthy of respect and the laws suck shit.
As you can see, there is no shortage of ways to contribute to your country.
Number 4, learn about and respect other countries.
Okay, this will be interesting.
Just because you love your own country doesn't mean you can't appreciate and learn about other countries too. In fact, you may learn to appreciate America more in comparison to other countries.
Yeah, until you find out what the healthcare situation is in a lot of them, and it turns out it's a hell of a lot better. And actually, the US has the worst, real wages, the longest working hours, the least time off of pretty much the entire industrialized world. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, learning about other countries is a big part of what made me not want to live in this one.
Women aren't allowed to drive in what country?
Oh, and what country is propping that regime up again?
You can love your own country and respect and appreciate other countries at the same time.
Who cares about other countries?
America has strengths in many areas, but that doesn't mean that other countries don't have strengths as well.
God, I mean, this is just so milquetoast. Like, say what you mean.
America is not the only good country in the world, and
in fact, it is not a good country. It's a shit country. It is shit to its people. It's shit to the rest of the world. It's actually shitter to the rest of the world than it is to its own people, and that's saying something.
has many friends and allies that help make the world a better place.
Well, where friends and allies, we mean regimes that the U.S. imposed on an unwilling population, and regimes that the U.S. is blackmailing.
America has joined other countries in fighting wars, signing agreements, and bringing peace to other nations.
Yeah, no. And also, signing agreements is kind of a funny one to point out, because the U.S. actually has a major role blocking a lot of multilateral agreements. Like, for example, this was something that was pointed out around 9/11, actually, that for years the UN had been trying to set up a multilateral convention on terrorism, but the US kept on rejecting drafts of this convention, because each time the definition of a terrorism included stuff the US does, and they didn't want to sign on to that. I mean, it's the same thing with the International Convention on the Crime of Aggression. The US immediately throws their toys out of the pram, because there's no definition of aggression that is generally accepted that does not immediately apply to most of what the US does in the rest of the world.
And other nations have also helped contribute to America's own success and safety. Immigrants from
Well, yes, in the form of we steal their wealth and use it for ourselves.
around the world have enriched America with many blessings.
Yes, like their natural resources, their cheap labor.
In fact, America is known as a melting pot of people from all around the world.
American melting pot!
As
What the fuck is that? Like, this is more ammunition for my argument that these people just do a bunch of, like, a bottle of Everclear each, put on a silly hat, and trust their luck.
Patriots, we recognize and honor good in any nation that it comes from, whether ours or one across the globe.
Also, the U.S. isn't a nation, by any definition, by any stretch of the imagination. Because the whole point of a nation is it's a specific ethnicity. The U.S. isn't that. There is no U.S. ethnicity. There are lots of fucking ethnicities here. I mean, the nation and country are not the same fucking thing.
So, let's recap how to be a rational patriot. Number 1, appreciate your country. Number 2, learn your country's history.
Number 3, forget most of your country's history. It will not help you appreciate your country.
Number 3, serve your country. Number 4, learn about and respect other countries.
Thank you for watching this how-to.
And like the one example of somebody learning a fact about another country not only is that women can't drive there, of course they leave out where it is because it just happens to be a country that oil billionaires like PragerU really rather like.
Video for PragerU. We hope you watch on PragerUkids.com.
Hope you learned something new.
Yeah, I learned that you still suck. Okay, well, we are running out of time. I thought we might do a little preview of something on the way out. Hell. That's what I meant to do. So, I have a few options for us here. We've got has, when a communist, by which he means himself, he doesn't mean a real communist, attends a Trump rally. That'll be good. It is some of his MAGA communism bullshit. We've got Face to Face with Communism, a 1951 U.S. military propaganda film about what happens when the communists take over. We've got John Cleese's War on Wokeism from Reason TV, so we can watch an old man yell at clouds. Or there's Operation Abolition, the story of communism in action, another U.S. propaganda film, in this case, with a conspiracy theory about the opponents to the House Un-American Activities Committee. Any of those jump out as some things people would be particularly interested in seeing? Let me just put a little bookmark in chat. I'm gonna go with MAGA communism. A communist goes to a Trump rally. Well, except it's actually has. It's not a communist.
Came across you.
Marxist grifter pushes hilarious MAGA communism platform. Yeah, that's about right. I mean, quite correct to put inverted commas there, even though fuck the Young Turks, they can fuck off.
With the trending hashtag MAGA communism.
And Matt brought this up the other day, and I thought it was like a half joke.
Yeah, because that's all it's worthy of.
MAGA communism.
Yeah, it's a joke because it makes absolutely no fucking sense. Why didn't you go to a MAGA Republican rally and try to convince the people who attend these events that communism is good on camera? Yeah. Except, that implies that these people actually think communism is good and want to have communism. They don't. They're fascists.
let's see a demonstration. Why don't you go to a MAGA or Republican rally and try to convince the people who attend these events that communism is good on camera?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I'm curious too.
Communism thing has to be the funniest fucking thing yet to develop in the past, folks. Imagine any of them saying MAGA communism to an actual Trump supporter at a Trump rally in real life.
Or they would be treated like fucking freaks. They are. I mean, except they're more boring than freaks. Actual, like, they're not properly 54 vind ik looks. This is Dutch. Why is this Dutch?
Like, hello, they'll be treated like fucking freaks. Which, I mean, they are.
I have a feeling that we're not about to see the refutation of that statement.
People on Twitter and people all over social media clearly have a wrong view about MAGA people and the Trump constituency.
Oh, yes, educate us, has.
So let's get right into it. So I've got to ask you, because the media has been saying this, so are you a hateful, fascist, racist bigot?
Oh, wow. I mean, this is totally the way you ask that question if you want a serious answer. Because, I mean, people will just totally say yes to that.
No, sir.
Well, gee, I mean, I'm convinced.
Oh, are you sure? Are you sure? Because, see...
They all say that I'm an enemy of the country. I am not. I am loving. I'm honest.
And you know...
the whole bit, I am a Christian school teacher, immediately, the fact that she brings that out and somehow thinks that is that rules out being a bigot already tells me that probably a lot of the people around her would differ from her assessment.
No, that's the atmosphere that's the only atmosphere we get here, is that it's such a loving...
Oh, we've been here all day.
Recently we saw a railroad strike. I don't know if you heard of it. They used power to come together to stop. That's an immense level of power.
What the fuck's wrong with this audio?
That hasn't been tapped into yet.
It should happen. You know, I've said this for many, many years. This country is on the path to another revolution. We walked away from King George because of taxes. Right? Where are our taxes right now?
Yeah, see, that is exactly the problem. Because the thing is that in order for a tax to actually, in order for the changes in tax to actually make a significant difference to your income, you have to be making quite a lot of money. Like, most people's income tax, unless they're self-employed, that's a whole different can of worms, as I know from much experience. Yeah, but even the income tax there is relatively is pretty negligible. It's the fucking payroll tax, it's FICA, that people pay a lot in. And the problem there, quite simply, is that rich people don't have to pay much of anything into that.
So imagine, to stop this agenda they're pushing, if the MAGA people and the...
what agenda? Who's pushing, though?
Railway Workers United to, bring the government back to the people.
See, he's skipping a whole lot of stuff here. Like, what does any of those things mean? And what does any of this have to do with communism? Like, he isn't even trying to explain communism to people. The thing is that you could talk to a white supremacist and they will use all of those fucking buzzwords. Except that when they mean bring the government back to the people, they just mean people like them.
That would be great if everybody could get together and get on the same page.
What if...
Well, yeah, what the hell does that mean, though?
The railway strikers came together with the MAGA people.
Well, so that sounds very much like he's saying, what if the railway strikers decided to get on side with fucking Trump supporters? That's not the same thing.
To stop this agenda, to stop the Green New Deal, and to stop the...
That's not the issue. The Green New Deal is dead in the water. It's not happening.
Wall Street and the City of London ruling class from imposing their Great Reset on us.
This is just straight up Nazi shit right now that he's saying. This has nothing to do with asking somebody he's not even using the word communism. He's not even, and not only is he not using the word, I mean, I could see an argument for you to say, well, you can't just use the word. The word's been so heavily poisoned, so you can't just lead with the word, especially with an audience like this. But the minute you say that, you're already kind of answering your own question about why it's a bad idea. Because these people are fucking anti-communist. That's one of the big things. They consider communism a bad thing. And if you're going to try to convince them that it's a good thing, you have to actually start talking about communism. I mean, not just using fucking fash buzzwords. He's like basically proving everything he's proving the point of the people he's trying to refute here by just asking people if they, what do they think of a bunch of fash buzzwords, and they're like, oh yeah, I love those fash buzzwords.
Well, that needs to happen no matter what.
So the working class...
He doesn't give anyone very much time to talk either, interestingly.
...needs to come together, use their power, just like the railway strikers, and when...
Got the power. That's right.
The American... country.
That's right. We're the 99%. And all we have to do...
And the thing is, the 99%, Jesus Christ, they're still using that shit. The whole weakness, it was also a strength, but it was also a major weakness of Occupy Wall Street and the 99%, is that it created an environment for fash grifters to take advantage.
It's stand up and it's game over for the 1%. Exactly. That's right.
It seems like our government has become completely controlled by this minority of Wall Street and City of London globalists. What do you think?
Yeah, okay, more Nazi buzzwords.
Think about a government by, for, and of the American working class instead.
Like, what does that mean, though?
I'm all for the people.
Do you feel...
I'm for the people. Well, like, what does that mean? This is so lazy. And he's edited it so heavily.
Like our government is owned by big business?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
Don't you think that they're screwing over the little guy and they're screwing over the working class to help Wall Street and help the big bankers?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's establishment,
Then why are you at a rally in support of a literal billionaire?
People in power that are, trying to set things up for themselves, and none of it's working out for us.
The people need to rise up. But the other thing people need to do is we need to work on campaign finance reform.
Who gives a shit? What the hell does this have to do with communism?
Can't have these big corporations putting in all these dollars into the campaigns because these politicians will listen to their big donors.
That's exactly. Then why the hell are you? What are you doing here? Who the hell is this guy even? He's like the only person wearing a suit.
So we need campaign finance reform as well as term limitations. But if you don't do campaign finance reform, term limitations is going to be a moot point because the big corporations will just rent those seats and keep putting their people in.
Like, okay, what is the point he thinks he's making with this?
Speaking to a man that's got Democrat boots from the 70s.
What the hell are Democrat boots? Is that a thing?
George, so the years, the independent heart, when they brought in NAFTA, you talk about the working man. When they brought that in, that's when I jumped on the parole bandwagon.
Wow, so he has a long history of supporting people who suck.
Well, now it happens to be Clinton brought NAFTA in anyway. Now it happens to be Trump is sporting the same sign in my truck, Hire American, Buy American.
So, and how exactly is this demonstrating that these people are ripe for communism? Because the thing about Hire American is it means you're discriminating in the working class based on nationality.
Okay, I did the same thing in the 70s, and I was a Democrat.
Yeah, that's how much all of the entire political class in this country sucks. And so we've had a little introduction to Has, pretending to be cosplaying a communist or maybe an extra from Miami Vice at a Trump rally. And it is time to wrap up for the evening. Thank you to everybody who's joined. Thank you to everybody who's been supporting the stream. And I will be doing, the actual, the fundraiser is going to hyperpolyglotting, but hyperpolyglotting is also me. So if the fundraising goal is met, which will help me continue to do more of this and just stop the walls crashing in for a little while anyway, I will be doing a Halloween cosplay stream, and it's a surprise what I will be cosplaying as. I'm going to call it a night for now. See you tomorrow at the same time, 11:30 U.S. Eastern Time. Thanks to Mask of the Red Death, Phoenix Rising, Jill S., and all of the lurkers in chat, who apparently have hung around long enough. They're hanging around long enough that clearly they're enjoying it. Or they forgot to, or they just forgot to close the window. I don't, either way is fine with me. The algorithm doesn't care. But, yeah, so see you tomorrow night.